Hello, thank you for joining me for another Dear Sam Horse Help Horsemanship series episode. This week I wanted to talk about something that challenges a lot of people with their horses, whether they're on the ground or in the saddle. A lot of folks are getting really frustrated at not being able to influence the horse's energy level. Whether it's a horse that's moving too fast all the time and constantly feeling like we have to hold them back, or whether it's a horse that no matter what we do, feeling like we can't get them to go forward. It can be incredibly frustrating. And this is one of those classic scenarios that I'll say a lot of times as folks try and quick fix the symptom, which is the horse being unable to adapt his energy level when asked by the human. We actually wind up making the horse more defensive. And so what happens is not only are we not addressing the root cause of why our horse won't change his speed and his energy level, but we're also adding to the root cause of his defensiveness, which is why he's offering these unwanted behaviors. So something I want you to think about, whether you have a horse that's always seems like you're having to hold him back, again, whether you're on the ground or in the saddle, doesn't matter, or whether you have a horse that it feels like, no matter how much energy you use, whether you're on the ground, swinging the rope, chasing him with a stick, dragging forward on the lead rope, if you're in the saddle, no matter how hard you kick, no matter how hard you squeeze, no matter if you use a crop or spurs or, anything else like that, if it feels like you're not getting a change in your horse, then this is a pretty big red flag as far as there's a massive hole in the foundation in the horse's education. And this is where a lot of people get kind of stuck, because many times they are assuming because they are riding the horse, they are having, we'll say, success and things are going well. And even if the horse didn't all the way listen or quite do what we wanted, as long as it doesn't feel scary, we're typically thinking we're on the path to success and we're doing well. Rarely do we ever assess and say, is there quality? And when we start to look at ourselves and what we offer in specificity, clarity, segmented communication, and when we look at the horse's feedback, that means his responses every time we offer any form of communication, whether it's spatial or whether it's physical, in touching him or the lead rope or whatnot, we need to be able to stop and assess and say, is there quality? Meaning, how much effort does it take us to get what response from our horse? Now, when I say that, many people will say, well, my horse listens right away. As soon as I do something, he does something in response immediately. There is a difference between what I call a two-way conversation or two-way communication between human and horse, and a horse that is obedient. And I want to explain this because this isn't just addressing a horse that won't go forward or a horse that won't slow down. This is basically kind of one of those crucial foundational pieces that we have to have in the horse's education and in our own understanding. Otherwise, it leads to so many unwanted scenarios as we ask more of the horse in the equine partnership. So when we're starting to say, okay, instead of just going through the motions and as long as it's not scary is no longer the standard, but that we're actually going to assess if there's quality, we need to start recognizing how early in the interaction the horse is either mentally checking out or mentally avoiding. And you might ask, well, why does it matter, about where his brain is? I've always been taught move his feet, move his feet. Well, theoretically, that may work for some people, but at some point there's going to be a massive hole if we approach in this manner. I'm only 5'2". There's no way that I can physically make a horse yield unless it's out of obedience. And obedience means the horse may be physically complying, but it never actually assesses if the horse's brain is mentally engaged. And if I don't have the horse's mind with me, then I'm just being hopeful that the body stays. And maybe to a certain degree, or if I only ask certain things, it will feel like the horse is physically responding as I want. But at some point, things are going to come up, whether they're distracting, whether they cause fear or concern in the horse, whatever it may be, where just trying to contain the horse and keep him physically with me, whether I'm on the ground or sitting in the saddle, isn't going to be enough to help address the horse's concern, to help diffuse it, and to help build his confidence. Now you may say, well, there's a lot of times when my horse is distracted, I just move his feet, and it feels like he's with me and we're fine. And to a certain degree, that may work again. But as people often say when I take a hold of their horse and they go, well, he never does that with me. And I always say, because you don't ask the wrong questions, meaning a lot of times we learn to work within what we might call the safe zone with our horse, in the sense of we never really look to increase the level of quality or softness. We are so fixated often with the act of obedience that we wind up doing things in a repetitious and patternized manner, to the point in which our horse is just mentally completely checked out for most of the interaction. So how does this come to play as far as increasing or decreasing your horse's energy? If our horse's brain from the very start is not addressing us, meaning when we start to go out to the pasture or the stall, if he can't acknowledge us when we call him, if he can't offer to be caught in a soft and reasonable way, not in a patterned diving his head into the halter and dragging you to the gate or the stall door because he learned the routine of what's expected of him, but that he's adaptable. If it feels like from the very start he's at all pushing, dragging heavy on the lead rope, or that he's already walking too fast when you've only moved out of a halt from 1 or 2 steps, and you realize how strongly he's mentally committed elsewhere to wherever he's going without checking in with you, that is where we time out. That is where we stop and we start to say, here is the beginning of the hole, that my horse has, 1, no ability to mentally consider what it is that I'm asking. 2, I need to look at my own communication. Did I clarify asking his mind to be with me? Do I have the ability to influence the direction of his thought or interrupt it if he's fixated or distracted? Do I have the ability to assess, does he have tension in his body? Is there a heaviness? Is there a physical brace or resistance? And can I help him drain that without making him defensive? And did I check in that he mentally processed what it was that I was asking of him before I then ask for him to think and move forward? And this may seem like a whole lot, but it's basically the foundation to everything and anything you're going to ask for in movement with the horse. So if you can't get his mind with you and you can't influence the tension, helping him drain it however he may hold it, whether it's locking up a shoulder or locking up a hind leg, or whether it's a physical brace throughout his entire body, whether it's him diving towards the ground with his nose and dragging forward or looking to avoid the pressure in that manner and seem submissive even though his body is physical and tight, then anything else you ask of him, he is carrying all of these defensive feelings forward, which means if he's already defensive, he's already mentally distracted or checked out or avoiding you, how much room is there for him to consider what it is that you're asking of him when you ask him to increase or decrease his energy? So there was a lot of stuff that I covered in this video. There's a lot of things in these type of videos where people go, wait a minute, what? I remember I rode for years. You kick to go, you pull to stop, and it'll all work out in between. But it really isn't a solution if we start to realize that if we're seeking quality with the horse, if we want our horse mentally adaptable, no matter what the situation comes up, whether we've practiced or not, and we need him physical, reasonable in his behaviors, and therefore adaptable in his energy levels without it feeling like we're constantly containing him or driving him forward, then it starts with the brain, and it starts with us refining the timing in which we start to become aware of how soon our horse is showing potential signs of defensiveness. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next week.